All right, welcome back. So today we are diving deep into a huge question, maybe the biggest one of all. Is the physical world everything there is? We're going to explore this really wild idea that reality as we know it, well, it's only half the story. That there's this hidden blueprint, this invisible architecture shaping every single thing we see. I mean, it's the ultimate question, right? Why is there something and not nothing? You know, our current model of physics, the one built on energy and matter and all the forces we know, it's taken us an incredibly long way, but it's got some deep, persistent puzzles. It's like there are these little cracks in the foundation that tell us a crucial piece of the picture is still missing. So yeah, our standard model of physics, it's incredibly powerful. It describes the universe as this amazing landscape of fields and forces. But even with all that power, it has its limits. It keeps bumping up against these fundamental mysteries that it just can't solve on its own.
Okay, let's really dive into this. For instance, why is our universe so overwhelmingly made of matter? Where did all the antimatter go? And what's the deal with spooky action at a distance? How can two entangled particles instantly know what the other is doing, even across galaxies? I mean, where do the actual rules of physics come from? Who set the dials on the universal constants? And maybe the most basic question, why are some things, like an atom, stable, while other clumps of energy just fall apart? See, these aren't just minor details. They're like big, flashing neon signs, all pointing to a deeper, hidden layer of reality.
And this is where the Unified Harmonic Systems Framework, which we're digging into from Module 5 today, proposes a solution. It's a concept called the information layer, and yet it's a pretty radical idea that running parallel to our physical reality is a totally non-physical blueprint, an instruction set that organizes absolutely everything.
Think of it like this, okay? The information layer is the architect's blueprint, while the physical layer, that's the actual house you can walk around in. One contains all the rules, all the potential for what can be built. The other is the tangible result, the thing we can actually see and touch. So, our physical world is governed by local cause and effect. You know, one billiard ball hits another. But it's this non-physical template that decides what's even possible in the first place.
This slide really gets to the heart of it. Imagine a kind of cosmic scaffolding. Now, it's not made of physical stuff, right? But it dictates exactly how matter and energy are allowed to organize themselves. This information layer is a non-physical template, and it holds the crucial timing and relationship data, what physicists call phase, that determines which structures get to be stable enough to exist and which ones just, well, they just fall apart.
Okay, so if this layer is a blueprint, what's it written with? If it's a kind of language for reality, what's its alphabet? The answer, according to UHS, lies in something called prime resonances.
This is so cool. You know how in math, you have prime numbers, right? Numbers like 3 or 7 or 11. You can't create them by multiplying other whole numbers together. Well, prime resonances are the same kind of thing, but for frequencies. They're these fundamental, foundational frequencies that are truly indivisible. You can't just mix or add other stable frequencies to make one. They are the unique, irreducible building blocks of that informational blueprint.
I just love this quote from the source material. It says, "Prime resonances are the indivisible atoms of frequency space, the hidden scaffolding beneath all matter." It just perfectly captures the essence of this whole idea. They're not physical things, but they're the foundational atoms of the frequency domain. They're the hidden scaffolding that dictates the entire architecture of our physical world.
And this table here just makes that distinction crystal clear. So stable matter, like a proton, is what we'd call a composite harmonic. It's like a complex musical chord made of many different frequencies. But its stability, its very existence, is totally determined by the specific prime resonances that form its underlying blueprint back in the information layer. Okay, so how does this new concept of an informational blueprint actually help us solve those puzzles we started with? Let's take the first really big one, that mysterious imbalance between matter and antimatter in our universe. And here's the key insight. Unlike a simple, perfectly balanced wave, these prime resonances are inherently asymmetrical. Think of it like a pattern that's just uneven. This model suggests that it's the specific combination of these uneven frequencies in the blueprint that gives rise to physical properties like charge. So one pattern creates what we call a positive charge, another creates a negative one. The symmetry is broken in the blueprint before matter even comes into existence. So that brings us to the really big question then. If matter is just the physical expression of an informational blueprint, what on earth is antimatter?
Now, the crucial point here is that antimatter isn't some different kind of substance. According to this model, it's the exact same stuff as matter, just expressed with a different timing, a different phase. Imagine a wave going up and down. Matter might exist on the up part of that wave, while its antimatter twin exists on the down part. So it's not an opposite, but a perfect mirror image in its timing.
So, matter and antimatter? They actually arise from the very same prime resonance blueprint. The only difference is their phase. If you imagine that wave again, matter exists on the peak, while its antimatter particle exists in the trough. They're perfectly out of sync. And that's why when they meet, they don't just collide. They perfectly cancel each other out, returning their energy to a state of pure, unstructured frequency. Poof!
Now, I know this might all be sounding pretty abstract, but the UHS framework argues that this information layer isn't just some philosophical idea. It actually provides a brand new lens to understand physical phenomena that we have already measured and verified in the lab.
Let's look at a couple of amazing examples. First, the Aronoff-Bohm effect. This is a super bizarre quantum phenomenon where a particle's path is bent by a magnetic field it never actually touches. How is that even possible? Well, from the UHS perspective, the particle isn't reacting to a physical force at all. It's reacting to the information in the field, which is affecting its timing, its phase, from a distance. Then you've got Shannon entropy, a concept from information theory used to measure randomness. Incredibly, the math for Shannon entropy also perfectly describes the physical order of a system. A more orderly, coherent system has less physical entropy, and, you guessed it, according to this model, it stores more information.
This equation might look a little complex, but the idea behind it is absolutely profound. This is the formula for Shannon entropy, which measures disorder in information. What's amazing, just incredible, is that in the UHS model, this exact same math describes how physical systems lose order and become more random, what we call thermodynamic entropy. The takeaway here is simple and powerful. Physical order and information aren't just related. They might be two sides of the very same coin.
So, what we have here is this incredible picture of a non-physical information layer acting as the blueprint for all stable matter in the universe, and it seems to solve some really deep puzzles about existence itself. But this leads to an even more profound question.
If this substrate of rules and templates governs the formation of everything from protons to stars and galaxies,
what about the blueprint for the mind, right? If all physical matter is really just organized information, could the same exact principles apply to consciousness itself? And that is the fascinating bridge that takes us from the physics of matter directly into the science of awareness.
And that is exactly where we are headed next. In our next explainer, we're going to dive right into Module 6 to explore how this information layer might provide the very foundation for consciousness, for coupling, and for the nature of the observer. I cannot wait to see you there.